Good morning. Today we are going to study about W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats, William Butler Yeats. His period was between 1865 and 1939. 1865, 1939. William Butler Yeats, a very famous poet. Yes, let us go through. W.B. Yeats was born near Dublin, the capital of Ireland, Dublin, in 1865. He was educated in London, but returned to Ireland in 1880. Though he was educated in London, the capital city of England, he returned to Ireland in 1880. Soon he began his literary career in 1891. He started his literary career in the year 1891. He became a member of Ryman's Club. Ryman's, RHYMANTS, Ryman's Club, of which Ernest Dowson and Lionel Johnson were also members. W.B. Yeats played a major role, a vital role in Irish literary revival, which was a part of Celtic revival. W.B. Yeats played a vital role, a very important role in the revival of Irish literature, which was a part of Celtic revival. W.B. Yeats played a vital role in Irish literary revival, which was a part of Celtic revival. You know, the Celtic language was a group of languages descended from Proto-Celtic. Celtic language, you have studied all these things, I think. The Celtic language was a group of languages descended from the Proto-Celtic. W.B. Yeats had a great appreciation for Irish literature, Ireland's historical past, myths of Ireland, legends which circulated in Ireland society, folklore, etc. Yes, remember, he had a great appreciation for Irish literature, Ireland's historical past, myths, legends, folklore, etc. He was an ardent follower of the Irish national movement. The Irish national movement was something like Indian national movement that demanded the home rule for Ireland, freedom for Ireland from the British. See, he was an ardent, he was a staunch, he was a strong follower of the Irish national movement. Yes, sometimes involved in a reaction against modernism. He was sometimes against modernism. He involved in a reaction against the modernism. He was writing poetry at the dawn of modernism. He involved in a reaction against modernism. Along with Lady Gregory, one of his best friends, Lady Gregory and Edward Martin. Along with Lady Gregory and Edward Martin, he established the AB Theatre, a dramatic theatre. AB Theatre, ABBEY, AB Theatre, in the year 1889. So, along with Lady Gregory and Edward Martin, he founded AB Theatre in the year 1889. He was the first man in Ireland to get the Nobel Prize. That was in 1923, for reflecting the spirit of a whole nation in his poetry. He reflected the spirit of a whole nation, that is Ireland, in his poetry. For that, he was awarded the most covetous prize, Nobel Prize for Literature in the year 1923. He was the first Irishman to get Nobel Prize for reflecting the whole spirit of a whole nation in his poetry. That was in the year 1923. He is greatly indebted to Spenser in his poetic career. We can say that, undoubtedly we can say that. He is greatly indebted to, he greatly owes to, he is greatly indebted to Spenser, Edmund Spenser, the writer of the Prothalamion and Epithalamion. Then P.B. Shelley, the Victorian poets, and P.R.B. pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood poets. P.R.B. So he owes a great deal to Edmund Spenser, Shelley, and P.R.B. He also had a lifelong interest in spiritualism. Spiritualism was almost a part of his life. He had a lifelong interest in spiritualism and astrology. He was also interested in astrology, the astrology. Then Yeats had an unrequited, unreciprocated love with Mad God. He was deeply in love with Mad God, but it became a one-sided love affair. She was extremely beautiful and immensely intellectual. She also participated in Irish national movement. Being a qualified bachelor, W.B. Yeats thought that she would accept his proposal, but when W.B. Yeats proposed to her, it was rejected. The proposal was rejected mercilessly. It had a deep impact in his life, and she married a lame person, MacBride, a lame man. And later MacBride died, and again when a vacancy arose, W.B. Yeats approached her, but in the second time also he was rejected. So this unreciprocated love affair or unrequited love affair had a deep impact in his psyche, in his mind, and in almost every poem of W.B. Yeats has a reference to his lady love, Mad God. Every poem of W.B. Yeats reflects his lady love, Mad God, and that was the deep attachment he had with her. And after the second rejection, he married Georgie Hyde Lees, Georgie -HYDLES. She was an ideal wife. Georgie was an ideal wife. And she practiced, Georgie Hyde Lees practiced automatic writing, that is writing poems in a spiritual trance. That is what is automatic writing. So everything is scribbled on a piece of paper when in a trance. That is automatic writing. She was an exponent of this automatic writing. Georgie. And based on her automatic writing, Yeats produced a vision. A poem, a vision. Yeats wrote in a spiritual trance. In a mental trance he wrote, imitating the style of his wife. Yeats' poem, A Vision, is a study of various philosophical, historical, astrological and poetic topics. The poem that he wrote in a trance, that is automatic writing, it is a study of various philosophic, historical, astrological and poetic topics. He died in south of France in 1939 and his body was reinterred, recremated in Ireland in the year 1948. So he died in south of France in the year 1939, and he was cremated there, but his body was recovered and recremated in Ireland, his native country, in the year 1948. Yeats's writing career can be divided into 3 stages. The writing career of W.B. Yeats can be divided or classified into 3 stages or phases. They are early period, middle period, and later poetry. Which are the divisions of his poetic career? Early period, middle period, and later poetry. The works of Yeats, of early period are the poetic works of W.B. Yeats during the early period are Wanderings of Oisin, which was published in the year 1889. Poems, collection of poems published in the year 1895. The Wind Among the Reeds, published in the year 1899. And the Shadowy Water. So, the poetic works of W.B. Yeats during the early period are Wanderings of Oisin in 1889, poems. It was published in 1895. The Wind Among the Reeds, 1899, and the Shadowy Water. Early lyrics are remarkable for simplicity. His early poetry is remarkable, or his early poems are remarkable for simplicity of style and melodic beauty. The Lake Isle of Innisfree, a nostalgic poem by him. While he was in London, the city of London, he craves to be in his native land, Innisfree. So the Lake Isle of Innisfree is a nostalgic poem. While he was in the London city, the busy life torments him. He is totally fed up with the busy, hectic life in London, and he longs to be in the calm and peaceful atmosphere of Innisfree Island, which has a beautiful lake in it. That is the Lake Isle of Innisfree, one of his poems in his early period. It is one of the best known poems of his early lyrics. His early works are influenced by the PRB and the Celtic legends. His early works, or the works during the early period, were influenced by the PRB, Pre-Raphaelite Brotherhood, and the Celtic legends. Unlike the modernists, he used the traditional verse. He was different from the modernists. He used the traditional versification, traditional kind of verses. Who? W.B. Yeats. W.B. Yeats depended on Irish myth and folklore. His poems invariably had a pre-Raphaelite tone. It is true that the poems of W.B. Yeats invariably had a pre-Raphaelite tone. He also depended on PRB for writing poems. Then the middle period in Yeats's career. The middle period in Yeats's career, he employed more austere means severe, austere language, severe language, or matured language, and more direct approach to his themes. What is the characteristic feature of his middle period poems? The middle period in Yeats's career, he employed more austere. Austere means severe or mature language, and more direct approach to his themes. In the later poetry period, in the later poetry period, he used the personal tone. He used a personal tone. Most of his poems are almost had autobiographical elements. He used a personal tone. During this period, he devoted to drama and philosophical and literary essays. During the last period in his career, he devoted to drama and philosophical and literary essays. The Green Helmet and Other Poems, a collection of poems published in the year 1910. And Responsibilities, another collection of poems, are realistic poems. The Green Helmet and Other Poems in 1910 and Responsibilities are realistic poems. He shows a philosophical and mystic bent of mind. In all these poems, he expresses or shows or reveals a philosophical and mystic bent of mind, a spiritual bent of mind. The Wild Swans at Cool, published in the year 1919, shows definite signs of maturity. His collection of poems, The Wild Swans at Cool, shows definite signs of maturity. In the poem The Tower, published in the year 19, and The Winding Stair and Other Poems, a collection of poems. The Winding Stair and Other Poems, he successfully writes on philosophic themes with compact precision, with compact accuracy. How did he write the poems The Tower, which was 1928? It was published in the year 1928. The Winding Stair and Other Poems, he successfully writes on philosophical themes with a compact precision, a compact accuracy of style and great command of rhythm. And these poems shows his great command of rhythm and language. What are the specialty of the poem The Tower and The Winding Stair and Other Poems? In these poems, he successfully writes on philosophical themes with a compact precision of style and great command of rhythm and language. His last two collections are New Poems, published in the year 1938, and Last Poems, published in his last year 1939. 9 in the Last Poems, published in the year 1939. So these are his important works during his lifetime, during his career. Yeats's later poetry is characterized by stark naked realism. What is the feature of his Yeats's later poetry? Yeats's later poetry is characterized by stark and naked realism. Even brutality is there, brutality and coarseness, harshness, coarseness. He writes in a persuasive style. Yeats' later poetry is characterized by stark naked realism, even brutality and coarseness. His poetic dramas or verse dramas. Musada, published in the year 1886. It is a short play in 3 scenes. Musada is a short play in 3 scenes. Land of Heart's Desire. Published in the year 1894. The setting is in a fairyland. The setting of this play in a fairyland. Diarmuid and Gramiah, 1901. Written in collaboration. He didn't write alone. He wrote in collaboration with George Moore. Then Kathleen Ni Howley Hand. Kathleen Neholihan, a play written in the year 1902, published in the year 1902, is a nationalistic one-act play. It is a one-act play. It is a nationalistic one-act play on the Irish Rebellion of 1798. It is set in the background of the Irish Rebellion of 1798. Kathleen Neholihan. Then another play, another verse drama, poetic drama, The Countess Kathleen. The Countess Kathleen, published in the year 1911, and at the Haxwell, 1916. Purgatory means hell. Purgatory, published in the year 1938. Years also had written prose drama. He also wrote prose drama including The Resurrection, published in the year 1927. His prose drama Resurrection was published in the year 1927. In his old age, Yeats came in contact with the great Indian mystic Purohita Swami. In his last years, Yeats, or in his old age, Yeats came into contact with the Indian great mystic Purohita Swami, and was influenced by Indian philosophy. Yeats was deeply influenced by Indian philosophy during his last years. Let's have a panoramic view, a wide view of his poems, major poems. Sailing to Byzantium. It is a companion poem of Byzantium. The two poems in this group are Sailing to Byzantium and Byzantium. Sailing to Byzantium is a poem first published in the 1928 collection. It was first published in the 1928 collection of poems, The Tower. Earlier we saw Tower being published in 1928. The poem was included in the collection of poems, The Tower. You know, the Sailing to Byzantium, it comprises 4 stanzas. It only has 4 stanzas of Ottava Rima. OTTAVA, Ottava Rima, you know. This prosody, the technique of prosody, Ottava Rima. Each made up of 8 lines. Ottava Rima, each stanza is made up of 8 lines of iambic pentameter. What is Ottava Rima? Ottava Rima is a rhyming stanza form of Italian origin. Originally, it is used for long poems. Ottava Rima was used for long poems on heroic themes. Ottava Rima stanza in English consists of 8 iambic lines, usually in iambic pentameter. Each stanza consists of 3 alternate rhymes. Each stanza consists of 3 alternate rhymes and 1 double rhyme. In Ottava Rima, each stanza consists of 3 alternate rhymes like A, B, and 1 double rhyme, C. See, Ottava Rima, what is specialty of Ottava Rima? Each stanza consists of 3 alternate rhymes and 1 double rhyme following A, B, C rhyme. So this is the prosody of Ottava Rima. See, what do you mean by prosody? It is the science or the art of versification, writing poem. Prosody means it is a science of poem. It is a science or art of versification, including the study of metrical structure. Prosody comprises or includes metrical structure, rhythm, rhyme, and stanza form. What are the items in prosody? Prosody includes the study of metrical structures, rhythm, rhyme, and stanza form. Then you know meter. What is meter? Meter in a poem. Meter refers to the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in verse. What is meter? Meter refers to the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables. The commonest meters in poetry are iambic, trochaic, anapestic, dactylic, and spondaic, which are the commonest meters in English poetry. The most important one or the commonest form is iambic. Then trochaic, anapestic, dactyl or dactylic, and spondy or spondaic. See, meter refers to the pattern of stressed and unstressed syllables in verse or poetry. Then what is a foot? Foot is a group of syllables forming a metrical unit. Foot means a group of syllables forming a metrical unit. That is what is foot. A foot consists of two or more syllables. A foot consists of two or more syllables. What is a foot? A group of syllables. Foot means a group of syllables forming a metrical unit. A group of syllables forming a metrical unit. That is what is foot. And a foot consists of, what are the components in a foot? A foot consists of two or more syllables. An overall view of the principal feet, the main feet form. The first one is I am. The commonest form of feet is I am. I am contains an unstressed syllable followed by a stressed syllable. Unstressed, stressed. I am unstressed, stressed. Trochee or trochaic, trochee has a stressed followed by an unstressed. Stressed, unstressed. Unstressed, stressed is I am. Trochee means stressed, unstressed. Stressed syllable is followed by an unstressed syllable. Spondy means two stressed syllables. Spondy has two stressed syllables. Pyrrhic, 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 two unstressed syllables. What was spondy? Spondy contains two stressed syllables. Pyrrhic has two unstressed syllables. Anapest means two. Anapest feet has. Anapest foot has two unstressed syllables followed by a stressed syllable. Two unstressed, one stressed. Two unstressed, one stressed. That is anapest. Anapest means two unstressed followed by a stressed syllable. Then dactyl. Dactyl means a stressed syllable followed by two unstressed. A stressed syllable followed by two unstressed is dactyl. A stressed syllable followed by two unstressed is dactyl. I am unstressed, stressed. Trochee, stressed, unstressed. Spondy, two stressed. Pyrrhic, two unstressed. Anapest, two unstressed followed by a stressed syllable. Dactyl, a stressed syllable followed by two unstressed. Then what do you mean by lines in a poetry? Lines of poetry are named according to the number of feet they contain. The lines of poetry are named according to the number of feet they contain. If the line has only 1 foot, it is called monometer. Monometer 1 foot. Diameter 2 feet. Then trimeter 3 feet. Tetrameter, 4 feet. Tetrameter. Pentameter. We have often had iambic pentameter. Pentameter means 5 feet. As in a pentameter line, there will be, in an iambic pentameter, there will be 5 feet of unstressed, stressed. Thus, there will be 5 feet in a line. Pentameter 5 feet, hexameter or Alexandrian or hexameter or like Alexandrian. It has 6 feet. 6 feet. What? Hexameter or Alexandrian feet. Heptameter. 7 feet. Octameter 8 feet. These are the feet. These are the feet in a line. So lines of a poetry are named according to the number of feet they contain. Thus it is named pentameter, tetrameter, etc. Rhyme. What is rhyme? The identity or correspondence of similar form. The identity or correspondence of terminal sounds. Terminal sounds mean ending sounds in lines of words. Rhyme means the identity or correspondence or similar form of ending sounds, terminal sounds in lines of words. The term rhyme scheme refers to the patterns of rhymes in a stanza or a poem. A rhyme scheme means the patterns of rhyme in a stanza or in a poem. What does rhyme scheme mean? A rhyme scheme means the pattern of rhymes in a... The rhyming scheme is usually represented by small letters, not big capital letters. Small letters like A, B, C, B, etc. Then what is stanza? A stanza is a group of lines in a verse or poem. A stanza is a group of lines in a poem or verse forming a division of a poem. It shows a division. It marks a division of a poem. It may consist of any number of lines, but more than 12 lines is very uncommon. A stanza may contain any number of lines, but more than 12 is very uncommon. A stanza is described in terms of the number of lines in it, the number of feet in each line, and the metrical and rhyming schemes. How is a stanza described? A stanza is described in terms of the number of lines in it, the number of feet in each line, and the metrical and rhyming scheme. Then there are different kinds of stanzas. A quatrain, the commonest is a quatrain. A quatrain is a stanza of 4 lines. A quatrain is a stanza of 4 lines. Most rhyming quatrains fall into the following patterns. The rhyming pattern of most quatrains are like either ABAB, AABB, ABBA, ABCB, AABA, etc. That is a quatrain is a stanza of 4 lines. Most rhyming quatrains fall into the following pattern: ABAB, AABB, ABBA, ABCB, AABA. Then whatever we discussed just now, it is an 8 line Iambic stanza rhyming A B A B A B C C. A B A B A B C C. Then there is Spenserian stanza. Spenserian stanza, it is a stanza invented by Edmund Spenser, and consists of Spenserian stanza consists of 9 iambic lines. 9 iambic lines. You know iambic line? 9 iambic lines. The first 8 being in pentameters. The first 8 lines are in pentameters, and the last line, the 9th line, is in hexameter. Its rhyming pattern is A B A B B C B C C. A B A B B C B C C. I just gave you information about the prosody of versification. Stanza or a poem. Sailing to Byzantium uses the theme of a journey to Byzantium. Byzantium is a place in Constantinople. Byzantium as a metaphor, it is used, the traveling or sailing to Byzantium is used as a metaphor for a spiritual journey. It stands as a metaphor for a spiritual journey. Yeats explores his thoughts on how immortality, art, and this human spirit may converge or join together. He tries to find out, Yeats tries to find out, or searches or explores his thoughts on how immortality, art, and human spirit may converge or join together or mix it together through the use of various poetic techniques. Yeats, Sailing to Byzantium, describes the metaphorical journey of a man pursuing his own vision of eternal life, as well as the conception of paradise. It also contains, Sailing to Byzantium contains the poet's concept of paradise or his conception of paradise. Sailing to Byzantium describes the metaphorical journey of a man following his own vision of eternal life, as well as the conception of paradise. Then its companion poem is Byzantium. You know, Sailing to Byzantium describes the journey of the man to Byzantium. And in Byzantium, we see the man has reached there. Maybe the poet, it has reached the companion poem Byzantium. It extends and complements is a compliment. Compliment something added. It is a complement to Sailing to Byzantium. Byzantium is a poem added to Sailing to Byzantium. It blends the descriptions of, the Byzantium poem describes, it has the descriptions of the medieval city. The medieval city in Constantinople, Byzantium. In night time, darkness, spiritual, supernatural, and artistic imagery are used. It blends the descriptions. Byzantium blends the descriptions of the medieval city in night. Darkness, spiritual, supernatural, and artistic imagery are included in the poem. Another famous poem by W.B. Yeats, Second Coming. It is written in 1919. The Second Coming, that is the return of Jesus after his ascension to heaven about 2000 years ago. The second return of Jesus Christ after his ascension to heaven about 2000 years ago. The poem was written in 1919 in the aftermath of the First World War and at the beginning of the Irish War for Independence. After the First World War started, the serious beginning of the Irish War of Independence. Irish War of Independence followed the Easter Rebellion or Easter Rising, Easter Rebellion. The poem The Second Coming is also connected with the 1918 pandemic. What is 1918 pandemic? You know 1919 pandemic, which is it's COVID-19. COVID-19 is the present pandemic of which we are all suffering too much. In 1918, there was a similar pandemic called Spanish flu. Spanish flu. It attacked everybody and so many deaths occurred. Many people died in the pandemic in 1918. So the second coming, the poem Second Coming has also a reference to the 1918 pandemic, Spanish flu. In the weeks preceding Yeats is writing the poem, his pregnant wife Georgie Hyde Lees caught the virus and was very close to death, but she escaped death. She now was able to become normal out of the virus. So anyhow, in the weeks preceding the writing of the Second Coming, his pregnant wife Georgie Hyde Lees got the virus and was very close to death. The Second Coming describes the spiritual maladies prevailing in the world. Then, another important point, a prayer for my daughter. A prayer for my daughter. A prayer for my daughter. It was written in 1919, a few weeks after his daughter Annie was born. What is the name of his daughter Annie? Annie was born, and the poem is in the form of a prayer by the father W.B. Yeats for the well-being of his daughter. And this poem is full of references to his lady love, Mad God. Almost all stanzas contain reference to Mad God, the serpentine beauty, the mad beauty. I am a prayer for my daughter expresses this idea of the ideal qualities that a woman should possess. It describes or deals with the ideal qualities that a woman should necessarily possess. There is also an undertone of bitterness. The poem also contains an undertone of his anger, bitterness in the poem caused by his disappointment. His disappointment to Mad God. That is what I earlier told you. The poem is full of references to Mad God. So this poem also has an undertone of bitterness, anger caused by his disappointment with Mad God. Then another important poem, Leda and the Swan. Leda and the Swan. Leda and the Swan is a story from Greek mythology in which god Zeus, Jove or Jupiter, like our Devendran, Zeus, god of gods. He has other names like Jove or Jupiter. In the form of a swan, he rapes Leda. That is the theme of the poem, Leda and the Swan. These are the important poems of W.B. Yeats. So study all these things and keep all these in your memory. Because W.B. Yeats is a very important poet.